everyone. Welcome to Steve Jackson Games Live News. Today we're going to be talking about Munchkin Double Dungeons number 6. They have two different dungeon packs, Munchkin 6 dungeon packs. One that contains about 20 cards, 20 of the dungeons, and then like 16 of the portal cards. And this one contains double the amount. So I'm excited to see what else they've added to this box. And of course, our comments are open. I think both platforms are working today, so if you have any comments or questions about anything in the dungeon pack, let me know in the comments and I will try to answer those. And I think that's about it for now. We have a whole bunch of really cool stuff planned. We have Cthulhu coins and some cool dice and some other Munchkin sort of packs and stuff that we're going to do later. And Black Friday is coming up. Black Friday is like next month, guys. I have all sorts of crazy Black Friday announcements to do. So, like, if you have not subscribed to our live content on Thursdays, make sure and do that and ring those bells and all that other stuff because we have a lot of really cool stuff coming out here. But let's get to the table. So this is our dungeon pack here, and we got a ton of little dungeons and portal cards. Portal cards you add to the main sets. So these are going to be like your door cards and stuff. And then dungeons you're going to have off to the side. If you've never played with dungeons before, I'll go over it really quick with you guys. But this is what's in the box here. Let's dump everything out. Ooh, they gave you the special Warehouse 23 dungeon here. So this one here is going to contain 40 of the double-sized dungeons here, which are going to be big enough that everybody can see them. There's lots of text on there, usually on the dungeons, because they do affect the overall board and what's happening. And then you're going to get 32 portal cards on this. I did bring my opening instrument. Let's see here. So I want to see what the Warehouse 23 dungeon does. And you can kind of see how the card looks there. The card's adorable. And you're going to have a bunch of text on the side here. And whenever these dungeons come out, you're going to put one out at the beginning of the game, and then these effects take effect over the entire game. And then portal cards are used to go ahead and switch these out. For this one here, you can never quite be sure what you'll find when you get a box from Warehouse 23. Whenever you are about to draw a treasure as a result of combat, roll a 6-sided dice and consult this table. On a 1 or less, forget what you were supposed to be drawing and take one treasure. On a 2, draw one treasure, fewer than you would have otherwise. On a 3 and 4, you draw a treasure normally. And then on a 5, you draw one more treasure than you otherwise would have. And on a 6, you draw twice as many treasures. So these are like super powerful little cards there. I like the Warehouse 23 one. That's true, too. Like, if you order, this is like FYI, guys. If you order stuff through Warehouse 23, sometimes they do end up sending you some like really cute little promos and stuff like that. Like, you always get cute little extras and stuff, which I love. So whatever dungeon comes out here gets to be thrown out on the table. That happens to everybody every single time. And then these guys here are the ones that go ahead and change them up in your hands. And what else do we got here? We got rules too. Totally missed out on the rules. This is going to tell you about setting up and everything and crossovers and what to do if you put these in any set. You can use any Munchkin cards in any set. They all have an overall rule set that allows you to play. If you want to have dwarves in your space set with space dwarves, you are totally free to do that, which is awesome. So you can always change a dungeon without a portal anytime during your own turn. You may discard 4 cards from your hand to discover and exit. Draw a new dungeon. You then have the option of discarding an existing dungeon, but you don't have to, which is always nice. So if you're stuck in a dungeon that you don't particularly like, then you can always do that as well. I'm going to set those on the side here. We're going to go over some of the cool ones here. We have a Dungeon of Elvish Excess and a Dungeon of Gender Bending. Everyone changes sex and then gets the standard -5 penalty. That one would be a bummer to come out. I should have put the camera up a little bit further so you guys can kind of see all of the card. I'm used to just putting the regular cards under there, right? We have the Dungeon of Stupendous Skills, the Dungeon of Ridiculous Races, the Dungeon of Militant Monsters. What is this one? While in this dungeon, each player may play one monster from their hand into the existing combat without using the Wandering Monster card. You only need a Wandering Monster card if you want to play another monster into the same combat, which is super nice. Look at those guys. Get my bat out of here. We have a Dungeon of Feeble Foes. We have a Dungeon of Cinematic Encumbrance Limits. So while in this dungeon, everyone gets one extra hand and everyone can carry one extra big item. When you leave, you must discard the big items down to your normal limit, and you don't have to discard the item that exceeded your normal hand limit. But you have to decide which one you will carry. Look at those. That would be awesome. I would love to have an extra hand and all that extra space to do things, right? We have the Dungeon of Even More Rampant Cheating Than Usual. Any go up a level card can be used instead as a cheat card. What? Oh my gosh. That would be fantastic. You'd have so many cheats, especially if you have a big old set of cards and everything with a bunch of level ups in there. Ooh, that would be awesome. Dungeon of Utter Uncharitability. So you may have any number of cards in your hand. Yes! So, I know lots of people do house rules on Munchkin, and that's one of my house rules, is that you can have as many cards as you want in your hand, but unless someone calls you on it, so if someone calls you on it, then you'd have to discard. So it creates a very ridiculous Munchkin game that is very unorthodox, but it's a lot of fun to play, guys. Because it's Munchkin, you know? We have a Dungeon of Gemly Generosity. Whenever you draw a treasure for any reason, draw one more treasure than usual. We have the Dungeon of Foul, Filthy Flypaper Floors. -1 to run away for everyone. The art on these cards is great, especially being on these gigantic cards here. I love it. We have Joe's Discount Dungeon. Only 800 gold per level. Honest. It's a discount, guys. Totally nothing shady happening there. The Dungeon of Deadly Deathful Death. Add death to the bad stuff for every monster. Just to be fair, lose an extra level when you fall to a monster that already has death and its bad stuff. This one may make for a longer game. That makes sense. We have the Dungeon of Manga Wrangling. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, you know, the big-eyed flying person here is hilarious. Dungeon of Extra Effort. What is this one? So while in the dungeon, you win by reaching level 11. The normal restrictions apply on reaching level 10 and both level 10 and level 11. Ooh. That would be fantastic as like somebody's getting up there and then that dungeon ends up coming out. We have a dungeon of some lavish loot here. Ooh, Beverly Hills. Okay, what's this one? Ooh, Munchkin Tavern. That usually happens at Gen Con, guys. We have Beverly Hills, double the level of demons and undead. Any demon or undead can be played into combat without a wandering monster card. That's hilarious. We have some catacombs. Oh, that's cool. They put different art on this one. That's adorable, right? So, +5 to felines, +5 to all players with cat or kitty in their names. Heck yes! That's what I'm talking about right there. +2 to any player who is already wearing cat ears for real when this dungeon comes up. +5 to any monster with the letters C, A, and T in its name, regardless of what order they're in. Okay. The Double Dungeons deck here is fantastic, guys. I love all the new dungeons that they've put in here. Oh, this is so much fun. We have this Chamber of Secretions, +5 for orcs and -5 for elves on here. We have the Cheshire Cavern, which is monsters here are harder to see and therefore harder to hit, +3 to every monster there on that one. The City-State of the Invisible Underwear. Any rule, card, reference, or gender, including sex change, may be ignored. That's always nice, right? We have the Deadpool. That's so messed up. So whenever there's a combat, roll a dice and turn over that many cards from the door deck. Any monsters you find, join combat as undead. That's awesome. We have the Dungeon. We have a Dungeon of Double Trouble. We have the Dungeon of False Pride and Chicken Salad. Oh, it's this one. Okay. So if you have any card in play with the word chicken on it, or if you discard a card with the word chicken from your hand, or if you are eating chicken in real life at that moment, this dungeon appears, you get a +10 on all combats in this dungeon. And that lasts as long as that is out. So if you're eating chicken at the table and you get your +10 and everything, somebody can totally try to make sure that you don't get a +10 later in the game by switching that dungeon over. We have the Dungeon of Enforced Holiday Cheer. All monsters are considered Santas with the usual Santa stacking rule. This would be a fantastic dungeon to play with your Santa set when you start getting your holiday sets out and everything. That would be awesome because it would just make like a ridiculous Santa themed game. We have the Dungeon of Sartorial Splendorfulness, a harm pit. The level of all monsters are doubled for combat. The bonus of all one-shots played against the Munchkin is doubled as well. A sneak peek. Thieves everywhere. All players have a -1 to run away and lose an item to the bad stuff. The burning deck. We have a house of cards over here. The monkey house. Aw. The World of Munchkin. Okay, so the World of Munchkin, which is an awesome card. I love the art on this card. An extra +5 in every combat to anyone who is wearing an amount of official Munchkin apparel or jewelry. An extra +2 above that if any of the swag is signed by the artist designer of any of the sets you are playing with. That's always nice. And then we have the Right Club. So the first rule of Right Club is that while in this dungeon, players may not acknowledge that they are in the dungeon. Each time someone either says either word of the name of the dungeon, unless they are reading this card out loud, they lose a level. Ooh, that's messed up. That's awesome. Is this a one-on-one game? No, this is a dungeon pack. So this is, let me get the dungeon pack out here for you, Jason. Right here, Munchkin Double Dungeons. This is something that's added to any Munchkin set. It's an all-over rule set that happens throughout play of the dungeon. So as you're going through, you have one of these cards here flipped out, and then those rules apply to the entire game. And then you have these portal cards over here that I'm going to take a quick look at that end up changing the dungeons as you're going through it. These are added to your normal door cards in the deck, and you're able to go through, and it's nice they have like a little portal on the bottom here. It says portal right here, and then so you know that these ones here are going to be the ones that are going to be changing the dungeon cards as you go along. So the normal rule set of it is going to be discard all dungeons in play and then draw a new one to replace them. Place this portal with the dungeon as a reminder. All undead suffer a -5 penalty in this dungeon and give an extra treasure if defeated. So you're going to have rule sets on top of these. It basically makes like a well, it kind of like changes the game just a little bit. It adds more rules to the game. So you have to be watching for more stuff, but it's going to give you more exciting gameplay and it's going to give you more aspects and more things that you can actually do in the dungeon while you're going through. And other ways to make it so players might not win or help yourself throughout the dungeon, but it is a rule set that you set on top of any Munchkin game. So we have, let me see if we have any really cool ones. We have, and there should be, what did I say? I think it was like 32. That's right. The original set was 16, and this set is going to be 32, and then the door cards on this are 40. The original dungeon set that was not double, I think was $11 or $12, but this one here is 20. So it's totally worth it if you want to get all the extra cards and everything involved in this, you know? We have short portals, a suspiciously simple portal, discard all dungeons in play and draw a new dungeon to replace them. And that's another thing. You can end up where you end up having more than one dungeon in play with some of these cards and the way that the portals are affecting things, okay? Immortal portal, discard all dungeons in play, replace them. Oh yeah, I think I read that one with the -5 penalty to undead. We have the Portal Riotous Reunion. If more than one dungeon is in play, the player who played this card chooses one to retain and all others are discarded. That's always nice. So then you can kind of pick exactly what you want to do with that one. Short Portal, discard all dungeons in play and draw a new one to replace them. Place the portal on the dungeon. Let's see here. Only dwarves, halflings, and gnomes may wear headgear in the new dungeon. So you get some really interesting rule sets that end up going on throughout this one. Where did my other card pack go? Okay, here's the other card pack here. Let me see if there's the Gods Reward Lameness. That's always a good card to see on the top of this. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get this card pack open. Hopefully I can get it open here. No, this is not... I have not seen any rules of this being a 1v1 game on this. I'm going to have to go look that up. I don't remember seeing anything about that. I only play this with the original sets. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, I'm not seeing any 1v1 things here, unless somebody else specifically made something up online. The Gods Reward Lameness. So, discard all dungeon cards in play. The lowest level player draws the top 3 dungeon cards and picks one. If the players are tied for lowest, each one draws 3 and picks one. So that one would allow you to have more than one dungeon in play at a time. We have some narrow passages. We have a cave-in. Discard the dungeon card of your choice and then draw a new one to replace it. There's another cave-in. All roads lead to Rome. Discard all dungeons in play and draw a new one to replace them. So that's just a basic one there. The art, though, on these are just adorable. A secret door. Draw a new dungeon and then put it into play. Its effects add to those of the dungeons you are now in. Oh, I play one-on-one with dungeons and it's still fun. That's interesting. You'll have to let me know how you end up doing that because I've never done that. Let's see here. We have the cleared dungeon. So you have slaughtered everything larger than a bug in this dungeon and most of the bugs too. Everyone goes up a level. Choose a dungeon to discard. If it was the only one in play, draw a new dungeon. So then, Taylock, do you have the original dungeon set here, number 6, or have you gotten the double dungeon set yet? Because this one has a lot more cards in it, and I'm really digging the full art pieces that they ended up adding in here. Like, I'm super down with the full art pieces. They look really, really cool. I almost wish they were all full art. I mean, a lot of them are expanded, but, like, I love the dark backgrounds and stuff on them, too. They look really fantastic. Teleport. Discard the dungeon card of your choice and draw a new one to replace it on this one here. That's a good cleared dungeon card. Everything just got blown away by a fireball. So, if you guys have not checked out the dungeons, they are so much fun to play with. A awesome manipulation of the Munchkin rules. I'm a huge fan of using dungeons in any set, although I do not recommend playing with dungeons with players that are brand new to Munchkin, since it does add an extra rule set to everything that's happening in the game. I always recommend that new players play an original game of Munchkin, one of the original sets first, with not a lot of expansions or anything involved in them. And then once they've played that, then you can start adding other things into it, you know, because you don't want to make things super confusing for new players. Like, then you can add your steed set, and then you can go ahead and add dungeons and stuff, and you can add all these extra advanced cheaty rules and stuff like that to a game. So it always makes it super fun for new players to get introduced to the original game and then all of a sudden expand upon, oh, and by the way, now we can go ahead and do all of these things, which is so much fun. I only have Munchkin 6 and 6.5, the 2 dungeon sets. It doesn't always apply to just 2 people, but most of the time it's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. I would be down for that. I've only played, 3+ on any Munchkin game because, well, that's how many players you usually need. But I have a gigantic deck of, like, the original card set that I've had forever. I've just added to it so many different, like, extra sets that, like, the stack, I swear, of cards is, like, this big for the door stack, And playing that, I will play with an unlimited amount of players, and that just becomes super crazy. Like, playing with all those cards and having them out there, you never know what the heck is going to happen. And but that's my personal house rules. Yeah, like that's something that I end up playing with at home, along with my house rules of as many cards as you want in your hand unless you're called on it. But then that's kind of some of the fun of it, you know? If you're playing with new players, it's always good to play with your 3 to 6 and then play with the original rule set. But Munchkin is kind of an open game in that if you want to add house rules to that, and there's even some cards that say, you know, the owner of the game gets like the final say on any disputes in the game and stuff. So that is up to you guys and what you guys end up wanting to do. Like, that's part of the fun of Munchkin for me, you know? But make sure to check out Munchkin Double Dungeons on Warehouse 23. I believe I put a link in, not in the comments for you guys, but in the little description for you guys. So you guys can click on that and check it out directly on Warehouse 23. It's $19.95. So this will add a ton of fun to your Munchkin set. If you guys missed the intro portion of this, we're going to be talking about all sorts of cool stuff later this month. Stay tuned and make sure to like and subscribe because we're going to be talking about some Black Friday deals whenever Black Friday gets here. I'm super excited about all that. We're going to have Cthulhu coins. We're going to have several other Munchkin sets. We're going to have more dice and dice bags. Like, I have so much cool stuff to show you guys and to talk about. So, other than that, have an excellent weekend, and I will talk to you guys all next week. Have a good one.